What is a situation where common sense will actually make things worse? If someone has something impales in them, do not take it out. You could cause so much more damage and possibly cause them to bleed out faster. Put pressure around the edges of the item and hold the person still while waiting for emergency services. When an airplane starts stalling and drops in altitude, anyone who's inexperienced will instinctively pull the nose up, which will make you stall even more and probably enter a flat spin. The correct course of action is somewhat counterintuitive, and it's to push the nose down to gain airspeed. Shopping. Marketing takes advantage of predictable consumer behavior and manipulates you all the time. Consumer common sense just makes you more vulnerable to manipulation. 1. X is more expensive than Y. So X must be better quality. 2. If X is $100 and Y is $200, Y is expensive. But if X is $100, Y is $200, and Z is $400, Z is expensive and Y is moderately priced, etc. Moving someone in a major car accident. It's tempting to help a passenger out of the car and away from the scene. Unless there's a clear reason to do so, you should leave them in the car and wait for first responders. If there's a spinal injury, e.g., a fracture, moving them without a C-spine collar, a stiff collar that holds the neck straight, can result in a spinal cord injury, e.g., quadriplegia for life. Predicting what other drivers on the road will do next. Safe driving is about expecting the unexpected. Trying to swim back to shore if you're caught in a riptide. You absolutely won't make any progress. And you'll just exhaust yourself. Swim parallel to the shore for a while. Until you're out of the current. And then back to shore. Oh man. Common sense makes my job so much harder. It seems like everyone thinks that you need to scrub your whole body down with soap and a loofah every day for some reason and then put Neosporin on all their cuts. Most problems I see are self-caused. Am dermatologist. Removing a motorcyclist's helmet after a crash. Please don't do this. You could likely paralyze them if they have a neck injury. They will often try to remove their helmet or ask you to because they are dazed and full of adrenaline. Don't touch it. And try not to let them remove it either. Unless there is something life-threatening, of course. If for whatever reason you found yourself stranded in the desert and you had some water with you. Common sense might lead you to believe you should ration out the water to try and make it last longer. This is the exact opposite of what you should do. Whenever you're thirsty, drink until you're at least quenched. Being thirsty is the first sign of dehydration, and you will need to be hydrated for the best odds of survival. Keeping hydrated will help your body cool off, and if you get too dehydrated you will become weaker and eventually delirious, which is the last thing you want. I've heard of people being found dead in the desert with plenty of water still on them. The way people respond to first aid for eye injuries is often surprising. Many people try to remove the foreign body in the eye or rub their eye due to itchiness, pain. Which you shouldn't do. Maybe this doesn't relate to common sense as much. But alkali injuries, toilet cleaners, oven cleaners are far worse than acid-related injuries in the eye. Often acid quickly denatures proteins in the eye, forming a boundary and inadvertently stopping the spread. Alkali injuries are often less painful, but more likely to cause permanent damage, e.g., blindness. People present to the ED much slower for alkali injuries because they are less painful. Acid-related injuries sound more serious. But alkali is far worse. A grease fire on the stove. Common sense says that fire plus water equals no fire. But that's not quite the case. Writing an essay. Don't write your introduction first. Write it last so it says exactly what is in the essay. Chances are, the paper you're writing will evolve slightly so it's easier to do the intro in retrospect. From what I have heard, sometimes being in the military. When you're trying to navigate office politics, leave common sense at the door. It's all illogical from here. Friends. When you choose to try and solve her problem instead of letting her vent about it to you. Don't fall on that grenade man. Common sense implies general knowledge or reliance on gut feeling. Human brains are horrible at gauging odds over time. Yeah. We can do the math on paper. But in the moment we suck. So, that being said, anything that isn't a fight or flight response will quite possibly lead you astray. Dealing with an irrational person. Common sense says, explain yourself politely. It will open a pleasant discourse. Nope. Doesn't work. It's like playing chess with a pigeon. They're going to all over the board and not care what moves you're making. Apparently in investing in stocks. For the past 27 years. I've followed the market closely and my boss has talked to me a lot about that. He learned to bet against me. And has made tens of millions. For example, if any company makes a great product like Sun or Red Hat, he short sold them since I recommended them. I keep seeing Microsoft produce insecure garbage that they never fix. So he bought Microsoft stock on margin and made enough to buy a new house on Lake Washington. Basically, if a company makes too good of a product, then they're investing too much in the product versus marketing. Companies selling sizzle rather than steak are the ones that seem to always be successful. It's depressing to know that you can make money by always betting against yourself. If you hit oil, ice, don't accelerate or brake. Most people panic and brake. Which makes thing 10x worse. In an automatic, don't brake or accelerate. Just steer into the skid and wait for force to run out. In a manual, try to force down gears to slow down and steer into the skid. If someone has hypothermia, don't throw them in a hot water bath, you need to slowly bring them back to regular temperatures. Quicksand. Do not try to swim or tread water. Lie on your back and float. Call for help. Voting. In the UK at least. If you lean left, your best bet is not to vote for your preferred party, but to vote for the party left of the Conservatives, Lib Dems, Labour, SNP, Greens, Plaid Cymru etc. that has the best chance of winning the constituency. It means sacrificing some ideals. But overall it's the best method to get less Conservatives, the majority party, into Parliament. When playing the impossible quiz, a lot of times the obvious answer is never right and you have to think about the strange pun. Anything concerning lawyers and courts. Up to a certain point. Deal with other people as a sensible, polite human being. From this point, forget that you are a human with brain and feelings and just let the lawyers do their job. Trying to comfort someone with a phobia, illogical fear with common sense. Like, I know I studied for hours for that test and when you just asked me a bunch of questions I knew everything. But that won't stop me from panicking. Don't tell me the logical reasons why everything will be fine. That'll make it worse because then I know what is expected of me. I just need a hug, grinning face with sweat. Car accidents. People tend to tense up their muscles in anticipation of impact. It's safer to go limp and let the safety devices do their job. According to all horror movies. When your life is in danger. 'Cause if you actually use your head, you might make it out alive. And we don't want that happening. Dealing with emotional, angry people. No matter what you do, angry people will stay angry when faced with a logical solution. Dumping water on a grease fire. Sounds good in theory, but all you get is an insurance check. Using it against a drunk person throwing a fit. You arguing things that make sense won't faze them. They're drunk. Sure, maybe some people, but I've been in many arguments with drunk friends and even did it a few times when drunk, and I'll say you can't win an argument with a drunk person or an idiot. You just can't. Online arguments. A well-structured argument based on facts will actually hurt your cause. All you need to do to win an argument online is refuse everything the other person says and call them racist, and you'll win. Edit. I don't do this. But I usually get called xenophobic or racist for disagreeing with people. It won't even be about politics. Could be about sunflowers or astrophysics. It always happens. Talking about people not having common sense. Common sense is common because you grew up in the same area and country as others. But learning how to ride a horse is common sense some places and not in others. Some college classes. You'd think that the class or teacher would be open to discussion and conflicting ideas. Nope. They just want for people to stoke their ego. So you play along until the anonymous review and hope someone at least realizes how full of some of these people are. If you see a deer in the road, do not swerve or slam your brakes. Slow without slamming and then just brace yourself. More death and injury from rolling etc. than just hitting the deer. But my God, that is hard to do when you come up on one. Dating, I don't think she got my text. I'll just send another one. Any debate about relativity. The physics of subatomic particles. Magnets. Or photons. In most cases. If you come across a snake, It is better to stand still and wait for the snake to move on. Running or doing anything to provoke the snake may end in a bite. Some exceptions include the death adder, which will outweight you.